Hello guys and gals and welcome to Legendary Champions. Today we're taking a look at another Marvel Champions hero from the core set. This time we're looking at She-Hulk. This is the last hero in the core set that we haven't covered yet. And before I get started, I wanted to go ahead and give you the answer to your question from the last video. And that is, the question was, what was the civilian name of Peter Parker's clone who became the first Scarlet Spider? And that is, of course, Ben Reilly. Ben Reilly from the 90s. Scarlet Spider, really fun character. And I will give you your next trivia question at the end of the video. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at She-Hulk. So we're starting off with the alter ego side. Jennifer Walters. She's got 5 recovery. And her ability is, I object, interrupt, when threat would be placed on a scheme, prevent one of that threat, limit once per round. Her hand size is 6, and hit points a whopping 15. Awesome. Alright, so obviously She-Hulk is going to be the heavy hitter here. Her stats for the alter ego side, the 5 recovery is awesome. Of course, that goes with her high hit points. Makes her very tanky and has the standard alter egos, a hand size of 6. The ability is great, not having to do anything with it. You just automatically get one threat taken off. You do have to be in alter ego form, of course, for this ability to work, but the fact that you get it for nothing is a lot of fun. I like it. Let's go ahead and flip to her hero side. We have She-Hulk. Excellent stats here. 1 thwart, 3 attack, and 2 defense. Now the 1 thwart is low, but she has definitely some other good ways to control threat. Her ability, do you even lift? And the response, after you change to this form, deal 2 damage to an enemy. Her hand size is 4 on the hero side and hit points 15. So stats first, yeah, she's got good stats. That 1 thwart is low. The 3 attack is awesome. She's the only hero with that and still has, decent defense with 2. But the 3 attack, you can just hammer on, especially minions, but it really adds up on the villains. And her ability, the automatic 2 damage that you can throw out, means you can flip in the first turn and hit the villain for 5 damage. That's awesome. Every time you flip into hero form, you can do at least 5 damage, which is very thematic for the character, just that you're doing high damage. But it's also just a lot of fun. The hand size of 4. Hand size of 4 is obviously the most limiting thing about She-Hulk. It's just hard to be able to pay for stuff with only 4 cards in hand. So that's the downside. But the high hit points, the high attack makes her a very fun thematic character to play. And place her card up here, and let's go on to her ally. For our ally, we have Hellcat. Hellcat is 3 cost. She's got 2 thwart and 1 attack and 3 hit points. Her action is return Hellcat to your hand. And so she's got the wild resource. The 3 cost is a little bit high, but 2 thwart is good. That's very helpful to have. Obviously, that'll help with your threat control with She-Hulk. The 1 attack is okay. The 3 hit points will mean she sticks around for at least a few turns, which is good. The action is the best part here. Return Hellcat to your hand. So basically, you can be throwing out extra thwarting, extra attack, and then if she's about to go away, just pull her back into your hand. You do have to pay for her again, but unlike other allies, it keeps her around a lot longer, gives you a viable option for threat and or just somebody to take heat from She-Hulk if you really need it. The wild resource is nice to have, but most of the time you're probably just going to want to keep Hellcat around if you can. Then we have Gamma Slam, 4 cost event. It's a hero action, attack, deal X damage to an enemy to a maximum of 15. X is the amount of damage you have sustained. So I'll touch on this question real quick. Some people have questions about how you'd be able to do 15 damage if she has to be damage that she's taken and she only has 15 hit points. If you're not familiar, there are cards that can give you extra hit points that are outside of specific hero kits that you get later on. I think there's one that gives you one extra hit point, and there may be one that gives you two. I'm not positive, but there's at least an option out there to get that extra hit point so that you can do 15 damage potentially. The thing about this card is really its cost. You're obviously going to have to be in hero form to use it, and only having a hand size of 4 and a cost of 4, you are going to have some double resources if you're using the resource cards from the basic cards. So you can do it, but you're also going to want to wait until you've taken a lot of damage. So this card is a situational card for because for it to be really useful, you're going to want to have taken probably at least 6 damage. You're really going to want more than that, but at least 6 for it to be worth paying for. And you're going to have to do it late in the game. So there is only one copy of it, and that's probably a good thing because it is just rare that you would be able to play it and have enough damage on you that it would be worth playing it. But it is an extremely fun card to play when you get the chance because it's just so thematic, fun to hit for a ton of damage. Then we have 2 copies of Ground Stomp. Ground Stomp is event, 2-cost event, hero action, deal 1 damage to each enemy. Now, there aren't a ton of heroes in the core set that have cards that can do damage to multiple enemies. So the fact that She-Hulk has that is great. But 2 costs, being able to deal only 1 damage to multiple enemies it just seems a little weak. It seems rare that it's going to be really beneficial for you to pay 2 for, especially when she's already got a limited hand size, just to get an extra damage out. So it's a pretty situational card in my opinion. One that's mostly useful against Ultron or to maybe clear some status effects, but that's about it. It's a fairly thematic card, just not terribly useful in the game. Next we have Legal Practice. We got 2 copies of this. It's a 0-cost event. Alter Ego action, thwart. Choose and discard up to 5 cards from your hand and remove 1 threat from a scheme for each card discarded this way. I think it's cool. It's alter ego action, thematic for the character, Legal Practice, and very helpful in a pinch. Being able to get up to 5 threat off of something, I don't think any other card has the potential to do that in the core. So being able to do that with 1 card, obviously you're paying more cards to do it, but being able to do it at all is powerful and really helps in a pinch. You're not going to want to do it all the time, but you've got a couple of copies of it, so if you really need it, it's there to use. Next we have 1-2 Punch, one of the best cards in her set for sure. 3 copies of this. It's a 1-cost event. It says response. After you make a basic attack using your attack, ready She-Hulk. So it's a great way to just pound on the enemy and or spread out some damage that you couldn't otherwise do. Obviously Ground Stomp, like I said, is not going to help you get rid of a lot of guys with only hitting 1 damage, but if you're able to hit for 3 or possibly 5 if you just flipped, take out a good minion, and then hit another one for 3. You know, you could hit take out 2 good minions that way, or a minion and the villain. So very good card. That's a lot of fun to play, and of course the 1 cost is nice. You got some good options there. Next we have Split Personality. This is the most unique card in her set, and maybe in all the hero sets in the core set. And that's 3 cost event, Split Personality. Action, change your form. Flip your identity card, then draw up to your printed hand size. So it's a great way to get some extra cards, so you can play another big card again. It's also the only way right now to flip your identity twice in a turn. Since you're limited by the rules to only do that once, you could potentially be hero, flip to alter ego, then flip back again. That's pretty cool. It is, I think, a little difficult to play. It's being the 3 cost makes it hard to use, and it's not always maybe super beneficial, something that you would want to do. But being as unique as it is, I think you could do some cool stuff with this. That's Split Personality. Next we have 1 copy of the support Superhuman Law Division. It's a 1 cost. It says Alter Ego Action. Thwart, exhaust Superhuman Law Division and spend a mental resource. Remove 2 threat from a scheme. So it's only 1 cost, which is nice. You do have to be an alter ego, which is a bit limiting for threat removal. And you have to pay for it. But it's a good way to get rid of 2 threat. So it's a bit tough to use, but it definitely is going to help out. So it definitely gives She-Hulk a bit wider range in her threat removal. Alright, next we have 2 copies of Focus Rage, another good card here. Focus Rage is a 3 cost upgrade, hero action, exhaust Focus Rage, and take 1 damage, draw 1 card. So this is an excellent upgrade you're going to want to get out earlier, just so you can be able to pay for more things. The 3 cost is a tough pill to swallow, but it's just going to help you down the road. It's kind of like Avengers Mansion. It's, you want to pay for it up front, get it out there, and it's only going to help you later on. So it's maybe a tough choice to make at first, but it's just going to help you down the road. But it's also going to help you build up for Gamma Slam, which is nice. Help you take some extra damage there. And it gets you, of course, that extra card. So 2 copies of that. Get both of those out if you can. And then last 2 cards is another upgrade, Superhuman Strength, and that's She-Hulk gets +2 attack, forced response. After She-Hulk attacks, discard Superhuman Strength, stun the attacked enemy. So one of my favorite cards in this set for sure. You get to pound on even more attack, and you get to stun the enemy. Only downside I think from this, I mean the cost is great, just that it's a forced response, I think. So you can't choose when you want to use it. You kind of have to have it ready at the right time. So, all right, guys, that's She-Hulk. Really a fun character to play. I wasn't super excited about playing her at first, just because I don't know a ton about the character. But I was excited to see what they would do with a big tanky character, and she's a lot of fun. She, hits really hard, but she also has some fun stuff, kind of thematic stuff she can do, on her lawyer side. I think it's cool, too, that she, being such a big tanky character, I think I would expect that she would be really bad at threat control to kind of balance that out, but she's really not. She has things that limit her for sure, but threat control isn't necessarily one of them. I think when Hulk comes out, I know a lot of his cards are kind of out there. I haven't looked at him yet, but But I know his hero card, he doesn't have any thwart, which is a tough. That's going to be tough to deal with. Um, but I would assume that he will he will be difficult to thwart with. Um, but but yeah, she's got great attack, some good thwarting options, kind of situational, but they're there. I mean, it's a high cost to pay for legal practice, discarding the cards, and even for Superhuman Law Division. But you've got both of those options there, so that when you need to do it, you can do it, and that's the good part about it. You've also got Hellcat who can help with that as well. So strengths for She-Hulk, obviously her damage. She, I don't think there's anybody, especially in the core set, who can do quite the consistent damage that She-Hulk can. You can, even if you're staying in hero form, you've got a pretty good chance of doing an average of like 5 damage a turn, which is, pretty awesome, especially, playing solo. I think the only hero who could really match that is Iron Man after he's more built up. Weaknesses, like I said, I would expect that to be threat control, but I don't think that's really the case. I think her biggest weakness is her hand size in hero form. So she's just limited on what she's able to pay for, her resources. That's her toughest task to overcome. And then most valuable card. This is a tough one for me. There's lots of fun cards like Gamma Slam is a lot of fun. It's just a little too situational. You really have to build up and work for it to really do what you want to do with it. A ton of fun when you get it off, but it's I think I've been able to really do it well like one game. And so that's just not, I think, useful enough across the board for me. I really like Focus Rage. I think the best ones are 1-2 Punch and Superhuman Strength. 1-2 Punch is probably the better card. It's just cheaper and gets you more attack. It's just fun to be able to reset and then you can hit somebody again. And what's good about it is after you make a basic attack, ready She-Hulk. So you don't have to do another attack with her again. You could use her for something else on that second ability. But Superhuman Strength, just getting that extra attack bump and being able to get a stun on an enemy like the villain is a lot of fun. So, all right. And then weakest card for me, I think, is definitely Ground Stomp. That one's way too situational for me. Again, I think Ultron's really the only person that I can see it really being useful against. Maybe if it was 1 cost, I'd like it better, or if it were a 3 cost, 2 damage, that would be good. In regards to that, I think I would like to see maybe just 1 card, since it's so situational, just 1 card, copy of Ground Stomp. And I heard one of the developers talking about they wish that they had included another copy of Gamma Slam in her set. I can see that definitely. Only having kind of 1 of her big card to play. She just does so much damage in general. I don't think she needs that. But if there were 1 card I were going to give up, it would be a copy of Ground Stomp for another copy of Gamma Slam, because it is hard to find Gamma Slam when you need it. Because really to have it be useful, you're only going to want it late in the game, or just after you've taken a lot of damage, and so having another copy there to be able to find when you need it would be kind of nice. So let's take a look at her Obligation and Nemesis set. So we have Obligation, Legal Work. Give to the Jennifer Walters player. You may flip to Alter Ego form. Choose. Exhaust Jennifer Walters. Remove Legal Work from the game. And then the different ability here is give the main scheme 1 acceleration token, discard this obligation. So, standard across the board, but wow, is that last one pretty rough. Yeah, I don't know anybody who gets a permanent um, bane from their obligation. So that one can be pretty rough for sure. So that's her obligation. And let's take a look at her minion is Titania. Sorry. And she's got 1 scheme and X attack. That's interesting. And 6 hit points. And so her ability is X is equal to Titania's remaining hit points. So that's pretty good. I mean, 6 hit points is big, but obviously, that's in line with She-Hulk. So if anybody could take her out in, 1 turn, that'd be She-Hulk. But the X is equal to Titania's remaining hit points. That, she's starting out with 6 attacks. So, that if she sticks around, you can't get rid of her right away. She can do some damage pretty quick. Then we have her side scheme is Personal Challenge. Starts out with 3, and it does have the Crisis ability, so you're going to have to get rid of that before you move on to the main scheme. And it says, when revealed, place an additional 1 threat per person here. So the threat isn't super high. With She-Hulk, she's got some decent threat control, but it is going to be a bit of a sacrifice to kind of get rid of that early. But you kind of have to, of course, because it's got the crisis symbol on it, so you're going to have to deal with this one first. But the side scheme, not terrible. The crisis ability on there, that's the worst part. So then we got 1 copy of this attachment. So that's not super common for the minions to have attachments. So let's see who we have. Genetically Enhanced. And it says, attach to the minion with the highest printed hit points. If there are no minions in play, this card gains Surge. Attached minion gets plus 3 hit points. So yeah, if that comes out on Titania, then she's going to be even that much tougher. But the cool thing about it is going to work for any minion, and just beef them up that much more. So I like that. That's kind of different. Fun card there. Then we have 2 copies of Treachery, Titania's Fury. It says, when revealed, Titania attacks your hero. If Titania did not attack, heal all damage from Titania, and this card gains Surge. And then the boost ability, give the villain 1 additional boost card for this activation. So yeah, that one's pretty rough. Again, just better if Titania's out there. I don't find that usually to be the case. Most of these are kind of built that way, that if the minions out there, they're a little bit worse. But it just doesn't seem too often that usually you're able to get rid of them in 1 turn or 2 turns. So the likelihood that you're going to see their Treachery pop up on that minion is just not, it's just not as probably not going to happen. And then the boost is okay, but again, that's kind of a pretty quick effect. Probably won't make too much of a difference. So 2 copies of that. That is Titanium, her nemesis. All right, your trivia question for this time is, how is She-Hulk related to the Hulk? How is She-Hulk related to the Incredible Hulk? Is that your question this time? So yeah, that's She-Hulk, her nemesis set. Again, she's lots of fun to play. She's the tanky character in the core set. We've gotten, at least one of the ones thus far we'll later on that we'll cover, and we're getting Hulk later on too. So yeah, she'll have some other ones to contend with, but for right now, a lot of fun, cool. And I think the fact that she has this kind of legal threat control kind of makes her, unique for a tanky character. So that's She-Hulk. I'm planning on covering the other few heroes before I move on to to Marvel Legendary. So I want to get these heroes out of the way before Black Widow comes out. Hopefully I'll get that in the next couple weeks or so. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at She-Hulk. I enjoyed it. Stay safe out there. And stay legendary, champions. Bye.